Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here for Comics News today, the 15th of November. And we're going to be getting into some interesting comic book stuff, of course. Some fun, some funny, and some outrageous, of course. We like to talk about that over here. But first things first, I'm going to go over here and hit that share button, and hopefully you guys do the same. So we get more people up in here to join in the conversation and have a little bit of fun today. Um, with the comic book stuff, sometimes it's very difficult to find comic book things to talk about. Oddly enough, today I didn't have much trouble with that, which is good, because we do want to talk about comics, and of course we over here. Along with I would say probably most of you listening, we really want comic books to be fun, and we want to see the industry come back and be something that loves its fans and loves the medium and all those kind of things which you would assume would be normal, but nevertheless we are in an abnormal time, it would seem. Nevertheless, looks like I'm riding solo for a little bit here today. I didn't see any notes on anybody was coming or not, but that's all right. We got Roger Heller in here, we got Joshua. Hello, how you doing? Welcome to the show. And I'll give it a couple of minutes to see if Thundero or Eric or someone else comes in. But nevertheless, um, I kind of mentioned a little bit about what I had done on the weekend. Went and had my anniversary dinner at a kind of weird place, but it was tasty enough. But kind of back to it, I am kind of curious what you guys in the chat are planning for your holidays. We don't have Thanksgiving here in Japan, but I usually practice it with my family because I'm an American and my kids are born in America. And of course, you also got the Christmas coming up. Curious what you guys going to do for it this year. Recently, because the kids have been in university, or my daughter's graduated now. But we haven't really doing much holiday stuff with just my wife and I. We just kind of do our normal thing. We go to work during the week, and we tend to go out on the weekend and go to a restaurant or something. So we're foodie types, I guess. Roger Heller says, with today's BS, yeah, I can see how hard that would be. Yeah, no, it can be. Sometimes, and another thing to keep in mind, we don't mind having a chuckle and laughing at idiots, and it's easy to do these days. But we also don't want it to be this horrible, depressing thing all the time, right? I mean, sometimes you have to, kind of deal with, unfun issues, and that's fine. But we want to have fun when we can too. So finding stuff that's fun to talk about and it's not always so dour can be a little difficult. Although today I think I got it kind of covered. Nevertheless, I have a beat up Japanese wrestler here who's decided to go blonde. How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I don't know why you went away from the Howard Cosell picture because that's who you are. Anyway,
Because this
great.
particular picture I think is more hilarious.
Fair
And
enough.
for some reason, I often have Asian men as my avatars. So
Yeah.
at one point I had an Asian man. I had one on here, the guy doing the high dive that Biden was molesting. I had on Facebook I had that one, but I also had another one long before that. I have no idea who this man is or was. His picture was just humorous to me, so I was him for a while, to the point that I had some weird like white supremacist guy in my DMs calling me a hypocrite or something because I had an Asian man as my picture on Facebook. Um, I was like, okay, bro. And then now this one is Kazuchika Okada, one of, if not the best wrestler on the planet, in his extreme disappointment face
Right.
because the guy he was wrestling with in the match injured himself.
Yeah. But he was a pro and he went with it, right? And that's what they're supposed to do. Things happen. That's true. But yeah, icon stuff. Haven't really changed much. I've only had two, to be honest with you. Well, three technically. I have this one I have here, which originally was done by Gary Shipman, which was awesome. But he just kind
Yeah,
of did an offhand, quick pencil thing and sent it to me, right? Which is fine. I loved it. But then Alan upgraded it more appropriately because, yeah, that's me. Yeah, he got it. Yeah, that's definitely me.
yeah.
So this is my other one, and the only other one I use is Grandpa Monster because Grandpa Monster. It's as it should be. Let's
That's right.
see. Roger says, "What matters, Chester, is you're together with your wife still and planning to go the distance. It's rare, so eating at a weird place is the least of it." Oh yeah, sure. We enjoy new experiences, good or bad. It's fun. And to be fair, I'm well aware of how lucky I am in that regard, because I dated a bunch of girls when I was younger, and I only thought about marrying one of them. And I didn't because of her insanity. And boy, did I dodge a bullet with that. But my wife and I are the perfect match. It just is. And I'm not talking about all these kind of silly Hollywood tropes. I mean, we just are. We've always naturally along together. We could sit in a room quiet and very happy. We're just natural match. And I know
Mm,
that not everybody gets that. I get that.
yeah,
And I respect it. So, but I just got lucky. I mean, that's all I can say, really. And in a way, she did too, right?
of course.
Yeah, so we just are meant to be together. It's just that simple, really. But
Yes.
and it is good, dude. But she and I we've never even had a hiccup, dude. There was never uh any thought other than the fact that we would be married for the rest of our lives, you know?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know it's just luck. I mean, you can make any marriage work, I think. And I think a lot of people give up way too easily, particularly, that we usually will kind of, because statistically, women are the ones that are choosing to divorce, right?
Hmm.
And in the end, if that's what she wants to do as a man, you can't stop her with the legal system you have today. But I also
Mm,
think that men have to take some responsibility, because did you really fight to keep that marriage? Did you
hmm.
really? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. But I know it's easy just to blame the women, because what? Nearly 80% of all marriages are ended by women. And when you
Yep.
ask why they divorced, because they were bored, that it's hard to get away from that statistic, right?
Hmm.
But I can't not take responsibility away from men, because in the end, as I've said many times, it's always our responsibility, no matter what. It always comes down to us. I mean, that's just the burden of being a male. Women have their
Mm.
own burdens, but being a male, in the end, it's your responsibility. No, you just have to accept that. But anyway, that has nothing to do with nothing. Welcome. Hi, Thundero.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very good. It's another gorgeous day. I don't know. I better knock wood on that.
Uh
Okay, I
oh.
did, because we've had a very rainy year, and the problem with rainy year is we haven't had much flooding, because we get flooding every year somewhere in Japan, but this year not so much, that's good.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
we've had so much rain, and we get these years occasionally, because this is kind of wet place, right?
Yeah.
Asia. The problem when you have wet years like this is the amount of fruit, particularly available, is lower, and its quality is less. It's weird that
Mm.
too much rain is actually bad for fruit, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the flavor goes down quite a bit. But oh well, in the long run, it's probably good for the ground.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to get into some comic book stuff today. Did you want to make any comments or stuff before we got into that?
Nope. Nope. We are living in a clown world, though. It is.
We
Chester, you
are.
didn't get a chance to. Actually, I guess I do have some. You didn't get a chance, not comic book related. You didn't get a chance to see any of the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff today, did you? You weren't awake yet, probably when it was going on.
No, and I haven't followed it too much. I've seen a few. Steven Crowder did some stuff I
Yeah.
watched. I get a kick out of him.
At one point,
Yeah.
the prosecution makes the argument that Kyle Rittenhouse is a coward because he should have fist fought the men charging at him instead of shooting them.
You mean the mob of 100 plus?
Well, that and the fact that the one man had already threatened to kill him, and anybody, he said, if he got any of them alone, he'd kill him. And two, there was multiple of them, and one of them had a gun. So,
Well, to
and
be
and a skateboard, which is a
yeah,
they're trying to pretend like a skateboard's not a weapon. It's a board. It's got metal trucks on it. You could I've watched men break them over each other's heads and give themselves horrific concussions. I'm
oh
sure
yeah,
somebody's been beaten
it's
to death
deadly.
by one.
It's deadly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's I've seen all the video from the incident. Therefore, I do have an understanding of it, and I do have an opinion. You know, he's not a trained combatant, fist to fist combatant. Although I will say fisticuff combatant. Although I will say the boy is highly trained in gun control and gun use, which is awesome. If you watch that
Mhm.
video, he has been well trained in how to use a gun. He has control over it. He keeps control of his emotion. For a 17-year-old kid, I got to give him credit, right?
Yeah.
But the fisticuff aspect that you're saying the prosecutor said,
Hmm.
I'm a highly trained fisticuffs combatant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had 12 years in the job using fisticuffs, and I know in a situation like that, the first guy, I would have broke him hard and very visibly. I would have, snapping bones, clearly brutalized, as harsh as you can, and that
Hmm.
would have knocked 80% off of it, right? They don't want nothing to do with it. But that remaining 20%, it's what, 20, 30 people? I don't care how badass you are, you ain't dealing with that. You ain't.
No.
I mean, if it's two or
No.
three, maybe even five at my size, maybe if they're not trained, maybe three
Yeah.
to five you can handle, maybe. But no way. Nobody's that badass. I understand Hollywood makes you think people are, but you're not. You
No.
will try to reduce the number coming at you, and you can do that by just literally brutalizing someone just roughly, and it does work. It will knock a lot of them off. They don't want any part of it. But in that's I saw the video. I don't care. You could take the most badass person in the world. You're not getting out of that with fisticuffs. It ain't happening.
No. Well, even that, the entire argument's ridiculous.
It is.
Utterly
Yeah.
ridiculous. It has nothing to do with a self-defense claim. Like, could you imagine in a domestic abuse case, you said that to a woman? Like, she shouldn't have shot him, Your Honor. She should have just fought him off. It's
Yeah,
preposterous.
it's dumb.
If your life's being threatened and you're literally being pursued as you're trying to flee from a dangerous situation,
Mhm.
I just don't understand how anybody could interpret that you're not allowed to defend yourself with whatever force is necessary to end the threat.
Oh, it's a political show,
And
dude. It
I
clearly
know
is. Yeah.
it's preposterous. I'm glad I live in the state that I live in because I don't have a duty to retreat here. And I also, if you're on my property, I can pretty much kill you. If I tell you to leave and you don't, I can just kill you because it's a castle
It's
doctrine
Castle
state.
Doctrines. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I'm very glad I live here and not there because if you could even bring that to trial, it means the law is wrong. Period. There's no way you should be able to wiggle that through. I watched it happen live and I said, holy crap, this kid is amazing. I said, we need 10,000 of him out there in the streets and this will get
He,
solved real quick.
yeah, I agree with
Uh,
that. I'm very proud of the boy. And like I said, his gun control and gun use safety was really impressive if you watch those
yeah.
videos. And Eric, first of all, why aren't you in here? I miss you. Second of all, at least I kept it in this century. I could have said pugilistic endeavors, sir.
Pugilistic endeavors, even.
Yes, yes. So be happy for small things, Eric. Sorry,
He
back to
should. You know what he should have done is he should have taken off his gauntlet, slapped him in the face, and challenged him to an honorable duel.
yes,
Chester. That's what he should have done. You
that's what
see,
he should have done.
not
Yeah.
not shoot the pedophile who's chasing the minor. No, 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 no. Duel him.
I have no problem with what he did whatsoever. And
I
he
don't
could have
think
been
most people do,
no,
to
he
be
could have been
honest.
sloppy and completely horrible gun control, and even in all that, I would have supported his actions.
Yeah.
But that it's just a show trial. It's political. The one person they forgot to get in on the joke was the judge, oddly enough, because
Hmm.
he's pretty pissed that they've turned his courtroom into a political farce. He's not
Well, he's
happy about it.
calmed down a bit because I'm guessing somebody told him that the media's pretending, trying to paint it out like he's biased, like politically biased, because he had "Proud to Be an American" as a ringtone. His phone went off at one point, and they're trying to say that that's Trump's song. What? What are you talking about? Millions of Americans have heard that song and probably love it. It has
Which
nothing
song?
to do with Donald Trump. Proud to be an American.
Proud to
Uh,
be an
yeah,
American. Well, at least I know I'm free. Yeah, that's a good
and I'm
song.
just like, wow, that is a stretch. That is a leap right there to say that because he had a ringtone, he's biased in a murder trial. Preposterous.
Oh
A
no, the
judge
whole
who's been
thing's
on the bench for like
ridiculous. Yeah.
40 years and has litigated some of the biggest cases in the country, by the way. He's not like some new guy that Trump appointed. He's been there for a long time on that
No,
bench.
it's dumb. It's dumb. Yeah, and I don't mind him getting mad at all because it is bullshit what the
Yeah,
prosecutors pulling off. See, the simple fact of the matter is, it shouldn't be in court anyway. It shouldn't be
correct.
in court. And I'm telling you, this judge, he's pissed, dude. And because he could have just thrown the whole thing out. He could have,
He
but he
probably should
didn't.
have, to be
Well,
honest.
no, because he wants to. He knows what's going to happen, and he wants to see it go the way through, so they can't come after this kid again. I bet you that's what he's
Yeah.
doing, right? Because if he
Well, if he
mistried it,
would have
they would
done,
just did it
if he
again.
did a mistrial with, he can do a mistrial with prejudice in Wisconsin,
Okay, he can.
or
Okay,
at federal level, and that will stop them from
okay,
coming after him again.
okay. I didn't know
But
that. Yeah.
if he does that, there's going to be a whole lot of BS
Yep.
that comes along with it. Plus, if they go to a civil suit, one of these guys sues him, they can say that it never, never went through full trial, and then it's a lot harder for him to win the
Yeah. No, I
defense
think the
side of
judge
that.
is helping him out. Actually, I really do.
I hope.
Um.
I hope this
Yeah.
jury is not a bunch of middle-aged spinsters, because woo boy, I don't know how anybody could. I genuinely, this isn't just me being right-wing and biased. Just look at those videos and say he was in the wrong. You can say maybe he shouldn't have been there. That's irrelevant. Whether nobody should have been there. So that's completely irrelevant. But the fact that he was being pursued, he tried to flee twice before he fired. The fact that then he was being pursued again while fleeing, trying to flee to the police, and was attacked twice, including one guy had a gun, was walking up on him with it out. Like, I just don't know. I've never in my life seen a case more clear cut for self defense than this one.
Oh yeah.
So if he does not win, that is a devastating blow to the Second Amendment. Devastating. They won't even have to repeal it because apparently you can't defend yourself when you're being chased by a mob of people throwing things at you and hitting you with boards and with guns. Like, then apparently you're just not allowed to defend yourself ever
Well,
under any circumstance.
talking to me about this is, of course, preaching to the choir because me
Yeah.
personally, I would like to see groups of about 1,000 men with AK-47s or AR-15s or
Yeah.
whatever other semi-automatic weapon you can get a hold of, going to these rallies and just gunning them down with thousands dead in the street. That's what I would want personally.
Me
So
too.
of course, I think what he did was actually admirable. But
10,000 young men like him, 100,000 to get the job done. That's all you need.
yeah.
Anybody who tells you need more doesn't understand how guerrilla warfare works.
Yeah, but I
Simple as that.
just it's got to the point that someone needs to do something because the police are technically, and I use this word very loosely, technically there to protect the public. Of course, the reality is they don't protect you from anything; they react to things,
Right.
and they never have protected you from anything, and that's not their function. However, their function is when you have rioting and things like that to quell it and to keep it contained. That is part of their job. And they have done this in the past. Even though they might look villainous when doing it, it is obviously their job and they're not doing it. And I know it's because the politicians are telling them not to, which once
Mm-hmm.
again brings me to a very important question. Why I know the answer, but I'm asking the general question. Why is it that political groups such as a mayor or a governor have any control or connection whatsoever to policing?
Well, because there's many different reasons, but one of the largest is the fact that we've allowed for far too long police departments to exist at all. There shouldn't be. We have sheriffs. We have constitutionally protected and guaranteed the authority and limited by the Constitution sheriffs, and basically not only, but in basically every state in the union, there's sheriffs of different. I
Sure.
think
Every
every state
county.
actually, every county. I don't see why we need police departments Even in the big cities, they say, "Well, they're too big for a sheriff." No, they're not. What? What? There. First of all, there's a sheriff in every one of those cities too. So what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. We
Uh,
just limited the action of the sheriff to the police
yes,
department for political reasons.
yes, and that's why.
That's why they were
That's the
created.
answer.
If you went
Yeah,
back to the sheriff system and gave them all the resources given to the police, it would be functional, but it'd also
it
be
would
at
probably
the
be a
behest of
lot.
the public instead of the politician. Yeah.
Yes, it would be a lot better. It have more accountability. Now that being said, sheriffs can be dickbags too, absolutely,
Of course.
and they can abuse their power. Absolutely, no one says otherwise. But there's at least a better mechanism for accountability than hoping a court sorts it out. When
Yeah.
97% of the time the court sides with the officer.
Yeah, no, that's
So
true. Yeah.
it
Eh,
shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't. The government should not be allowed to investigate itself to prove that it did nothing wrong.
right.
That is
Yeah.
insane, and it's obviously not what was intended. What was actually intended was the people's veto with the militia. But again, our society's soft, and we think violence is bad.
I
It's a
think we
bad
should
thing.
I think we should go back to malicious. It'd be good. And Eric, you're gonna give me shit for using the word behest? Huh? But no, and we could have a conversation, and we might want to have a conversation someday on the problem with modern policing, because I mean, all of this noise about defund the police and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it's ridiculous. You don't defund the police, but the police in the West are do have their problems, and we could fix it. But the problem is with many things like our judicial system itself is very broken. Our political system is broken. It's because it's set up to inspire people that you don't want in the job. If you sat down and you created a list, I mean, you earnestly did it. You created a list of what would you want a police officer to be? What qualities would you want? And then you took that and you put it one to one to every cop you saw. You're going to see that a lower percentage of them would meet that, and there are some that do, where the majority wouldn't. Because one of the problems with policing is the type of person that it attracts is that person that was the bully in school, the one who likes to have the power of the badge and the gun on their side. And there's a large number of them. And depending on where you live, where does the balance derive? Is it mainly the bullies? Or is it mainly the guys who are there to actually do the job correctly? And that's where
Hmm.
things shift. And when you create these kind of defund the police type of political actions, what you do is get the good guys to leave, and it leaves more and more of the bad guys. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily corrupt. You're going to have some of that, but just the guys who want the power of the badge and the gun, and that in
Yeah.
itself is a problem. And we could take every single aspect of our so-called authority and look at it under this light, and you'll find there's a problem everywhere you look. That's a problem. And Eric, oh, there he goes. Behest I shall allow. Thank you very much, Eric. But anyway, speaking of vigilanteism, uh, how did I know that was going to happen? You'll ask
Uh-oh.
yourself later, did he orchestrate it? Does he always orchestrate it? Well, we'll see, because we're going to get into it. You ready?
Oh yeah.
All righty. So, as you guys know, here on the comic book news, I'm want to start talking about comic book characters, of course, and therefore I need to come back over this. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I need to come back over to this and do like this, and then oh,
I
perfect.
like that. I like that drawing. That's
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you. Of course, I could talk about Batman because vigilantes and all, and he is a vigilante, straight up by definition one. And even though he does work with Commissioner Gordon eventually, keep in mind that the original Batman, of course, based upon the Shadow, he did carry a gun, he did shoot people. They changed that, which I think was a good idea. The thing with Batman is, when I was a kid, I didn't really read much Batman. I mean, hardly at all. I was very much a Marvel kid, and I read a lot of stuff. My first comic book I got, I was like 5. I probably told the story. It was with my grandma at a Cumberland Farms, and I was looking at the comic books, and she thought I was interested and asked, and I picked the Daredevil one. But I didn't really start, buying and collecting comic books till I was about 12, because that's when I created my first little business, my little lawn mowing business, and I had money. right? So I could go do that. Otherwise, I didn't. My parents never bought me shit, right? It was only grandma that would get me something. So it was really, from 12 and then about 12, 13 years of me, religiously buying comic books. And I was never a huge Batman fan. I know you guys saying, well, this is a very popular character everybody knows, so why you talk about this guy? Well, I'm not going to. I just knew we were talking about Rittenhouse, and I thought it would be interesting to show the most popular of all vigilantes, which is Batman. And of course, the animated series here, which is amazing. Or is that blue and gray? I'm not sure. But no, that's not what I want to talk about, though, Thundera. What I'd like to talk about today is Dead Man. Now,
Dead Man.
have you ever read a Dead Man comic book?
Yeah, but I don't remember it. It was a long time ago in the 90s, I think.
Well, this was mainly created by Neil Adams with the art and stuff, right? And he did come out in the 70s. I do remember seeing him a couple times here or there, but I didn't. I saw the cover. I didn't know the character. I never booked, like I said, I didn't buy much DC stuff. But somewhere where I don't know. I think I was just starting college or I was in high school, like senior year or something like that. But they came out with a series. Was Neil Adams once again, and I think Miller. I'm not sure. And they came out with like I don't know, 4 part, maybe 6 part miniseries that I read, and I was like, ooh, this is a very interesting character, and I've been reading him ever since. I don't think he's got anywhere near as much love as he should, but Boston Brand here is a very interesting character on multiple levels. He was a trapeze artist. Yes, I understand the connection to Robin. I get it. It's DC. It's incestuous. What do you want? But he was murdered. At the time, I think later they tried to tie some nonsense into it, Thundera, but initially he just was a random target, right, for a guy trying to get into an Assassin's League. And he was killed. But the god Rama gave him the ability to possess living people and take over their bodies, right? So it's kind of quantum leap at the second, in a way.
Yep.
And now there was a with the future team. I think there was a time where he actually had a android body, which I thought that was stupid. But that's mainly what it is. So here you have a character that doesn't have any powers beyond the ability to take over other people's bodies, and he does detective type stuff and solves crimes. Occasionally they'll mix him up with other people, but mainly when he's by himself, that's what he's doing. But it also has this interesting underworld or afterlife world that comes into place from an Indian point of view, which you don't see very often, right?
Hmm.
In the Western world, we don't really delve into those kind of things. Now, I'm not going to go into a big old thing about Indian, religion and the historical connection stuff. I'm not going to do that. But we do know that India is super mega old, right? And
Yep.
I just thought that was an interesting little thing. And I don't know that it influenced me, but I did do around that time, quite because I was going to university at the time. I did quite a bit of searching into Indian mythology and cosmology. I don't know if it was this comic book that influenced that. I bet you it helped a little though. But that's who Dead Man is. His name is Boston Brand, and his power is very simple. He's not this, blowing things up or this amazing badass fighter. He's really what it is quantum leap at the second, right? He can change anybody he wants, and he goes and solves crimes and people that have been murdered. He helps out spirits and things like that. It's an interesting comic book. It's an interesting character. You have any opinions on Dead Man?
Um, Not too much, because like I said, I barely remember it. I remember Dick Grayson becoming Dead Man for a minute in like like a alternate thing or something. Maybe it was Injustice. I don't know.
Yeah,
But that's about it for me, unfortunately. I think he's a cool idea. I
yeah,
think the character's a cool idea. Um, but I just don't know him well enough to really have an opinion one way or the other.
yeah.
I've often thought that it's a cool idea to have like a phantasm type superhero, which
Yeah.
has been done before in different ways. I just think it's a cool little trick, cool little supernatural power set you could play with.
Yeah, no, no. Another good version of a dead ghost is Ghost, the female,
Yeah.
and but she has the ability to become tangible, right?
Mm.
And therefore, she's like a badass with guns, type of character, which is all right. It's fine. But he's different. And the reason he looks like that is because that is his image of himself, because that's his costume he would wear when he was with the circus. So it's just his mental perception of himself is why he has this costume on. And of course, they put him in Robin or Batman or anybody. They can put him inside. I never cared for those stories very much, to be honest with you, like this cover here. I much preferred when he was helping the poor little prostitute that got murdered by the pimp, you know, or that
Yeah.
kind of that kind of story I liked. It felt much more Dresden Files when they did that, and I liked it. Right, it was different.
Mm.
Um, so I prefer him when he's by himself because it's much more down to earth stuff. And of course, he'll go and deal with otherworldly things, particularly in Rama's city. There, I can't remember. Rama's got a city of criminals, but those all of those things, and of course that ties in with the Sandman storylines as well. Dead Man ties in very neatly with those characters, those supernatural entities in those stories. But it is just interesting, a character. It's different, and it's not one that gets much love, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I do. I like the artwork. I like his character design. I don't like the D personally, but I like everything else about his character design. I just think the D just I don't know. It's too comic booky for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know. It just does. I don't think it fits him. Like if it was a tattoo, maybe, but not just on his clothes. Looks like they just really wanted that superhero vibe,
They
so
did.
they put a
They
D on
clearly
his
did.
shirt.
Well, it came out in the '70s, right?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a silver age. But technically he was called the Dead Man because he was a trapeze artist and he'd work without a net. Right? Because
Mm.
this is his trapeze, circus costume. That's what this is, technically. But yeah, of course, you're right. They wanted that superhero spandex trope. But which is fine. I don't mind that because most of the time in a Dead Man comic book, he is in someone else's body anyway,
Yeah.
right? And of course, if you like Quantum Leap, go read Dead Man because it's basically what it is. Right? It's Quantum Leap. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the creators of Quantum Leap got a little bit of inspiration from it. I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised because this came out in the early, what, 74? Something like that. So it's
Yes.
way before Quantum Leap came out. I saw a movie yesterday. My wife and I watched a movie before we went to bed, and it was Tom. Who's that famous Tom? He's in so many movies. He's like considered like the mega actor.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Hanks. No, fuck
Tom
Tom
Hanks.
Cruise. Tom Cruise. Jesus Christ. No, Tom Hanks, which he is a really good actor. I watched his movie Finch, and it's if you like Tom Hanks, go watch it. It's classic Tom Hanks. But the whole concept of it, it's not even a spoiler, is he creates a robot companion and he's trying to get to safety in a post-apocalyptic world. Owadi. That's the end of it, right? But I thought it was really interesting because back at this time, when I was young, in the early '80s, I mean, even the end of the '70s, maybe, they came out with a role playing game called Marvel Superheroes role playing game, right? And it had a very unique system for the time. And my friends and I, we played D&D, but we also played Marvel quite a bit. And it's a
Yeah.
fun thing to do as a kid, right? And we had a lot of fun playing it. And of course, I played several characters, including Dead Man adaptation I made for the game. But I had one of my characters I really enjoyed, and I called him Mac, right? And Mac was mechanical automaton companion or autonomous
Mm.
companion, right? Mac. And it was this mechanical creature that was created, 100, nearly 200 years ago by this wizard at the end of magical age. And of course, the wizard is long dead, and he's just kind of trying to survive through the world on his own and become his own sentient thing. That was the character I had made and was playing, and it was very interesting because that's what Finch is about. So I saw my character I created, what, 37, 38 years ago, on the screen. It was pretty neat. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
That is cool.
It is cool. Yeah. His costume from Joshua, he says his costume looks like Daredevil and Morbius. Yeah, fair enough. It was that
Yep.
age, guys. It was that age. But whether you like the look of things or not, it doesn't matter. Is the storytelling good? And these stories have to be good because you don't have the boom boom bang bang Michael Bay shit to save your ass, right?
Mm,
You have to actually tell good stories with this kind of character. Because what does he do? Well, he just takes over people's bodies. That's it, right?
right.
And what he's really doing is solving crime. And Boston, his name is Boston Brand. Boston isn't a detective by trade, right?
Mm,
So he's a bit bumbling in his efforts to do it. He gets better, of course, but he's just trying to help people because he's just a good guy. But it really it had a lot of Dresden File feel for me.
yeah.
I really and I love Dresden Files. I don't know
I
about
think
you
you
guys.
could do this. I think you could lean more into like so he's a ghost, right?
He is, yeah,
Effectively.
yeah. He is a
Um,
ghost, yeah,
ghosts have more than just the ability to possess, in lore. They can some of them can do all sorts of things, whether it be telekinetics or just all sorts of stuff.
sure.
So it could be kind of cool if you leaned into that with a character similar to him, and just allowed him to have a wider range of power, a wide array rather,
Mm,
of powers, and you could do cool stuff with him. I think like I said, I really like the concept of Dead Man. I think it's a strong concept. It's why it's been used in other superheroes, or other comic books, I should say. But I think, unfortunately, what they did by making him basically only have one real power, which is to possess people.
yeah,
At least that's how he interacts with the physical world.
yeah.
That
He's a
limits him a
free
lot.
roaming. It does, and I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. No, because you do have the Phantom Gentleman or the Gentleman Ghost. Is that his name? You have
something
ghosts.
like
You have
that.
things like these, and they can interact with the world in and of themselves in different ways. He is super limited, and I think it's great for the storytelling aspect. And he's also not a professional. I mean, Batman. Who I showed initially, of course. Batman's awesome and all, but he's ridiculously highly trained in every
Yep.
single solitary thing. He is that thing. Boston is a dude that just finds himself in a random situation. Why did Rama choose to allow him to roam free and possess bodies? Why did this god choose him? He has no clue. He's not a genius detective. He's not anything. He's an acrobat. That's about all he is. And it's great because he's earnest in his intention. And that which makes Boston a very, very interesting character. He's not a fool. Not at all, because some characters are fools, right? That's not what he is. But he's just not a professional detective. He's not a professional fighter. He's not any of those things. He's just a dude who doesn't even understand what the hell's going on. Why is he here? But he needs to help people. And that's it. Right? So it's kind of cool. Anyway, that's Dead Man. And Batman. I wanted to throw Batman in there simply. I knew we were going to be talking about Rittenhouse, but also because we're not going to sit and have a long conversation about Batman. I mean, what would be the point, right? But
He's
Batman is
Batman.
he is Batman, but he's awesome also. Anyway, let's get into
I
it.
would love for Batman to return, just straight up return for a nice long run. I guess he is kind of having one right now of him just as a detective. Detective Batman, we need that again.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway,
Yeah.
rumor Norman Reedus in talks with Marvel to portray Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. Okay,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Norman.
I like
I
Norman
like
too.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah. Uh,
I think he can pull Blaze off. He's the problem with Norman. He's got that dirty charisma. What I mean by that
redneck.
is he's not
Redneck
really
charisma. Yeah.
he's not really like a handsome dude, but the women love him because the way he carries himself, especially when he's playing Daryl, stuff like that. I don't think he's an ugly guy, but he's just a normal looking guy. He's not he's not a Henry Cavill or something. He's not gonna blow you away with his looks. And but yet he has kind of like that Harrison Ford, like just that ruggedness about him
Yeah,
that women respond to.
yeah.
And I think that could probably work as Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze
Well,
doesn't have to be, your phenotypical Superman looking guy.
no,
He can just be kind of a daredevil looking guy because that's what he
that's what he
is.
is. Yeah,
So yeah, I think if that's true, that's actually a pretty good pick. He's a little, I don't know. I guess Johnny can be older. There's nothing in Johnny's story that says he has to be younger.
no.
Um, so yeah, I think it's a good pick. I'm trying to talk myself out of it, and I'm talking myself into it.
Yeah,
I
no.
like it. I hope it's true.
When I saw it, I was like, yeah, yeah. I actually think Norman could be a more comic book classic
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze, whereas Nick Cage was not. But then again, Nick Cage never is. He's Nick Cage. Don't you dare put him in a box. But to be fair, I kind of love the second one was kind of really bad, but I kind of love Nick Cage as Ghost Rider though. I mean, I don't know
Mm,
why. I shouldn't. I should hate it. But then again, I should hate Keanu Reeves as Constantine, but I don't.
yeah. No,
But
I like the first Ghost Rider movie. I thought
it was fun.
it's not a great movie by any stretch
No.
of the imagination, but it knew what it was, and it was just it, and it did rule of cool when it needed to.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it was like a great depiction of Ghost Rider necessarily,
No, it
but
wasn't.
that's okay. Just like Constantine isn't really a great depiction of
No,
Constantine,
it's
but
horrible.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
as long as it's entertaining, as long as if you're going to make changes, at least make those changes bring something else to the table that make up for it. And I think those are two examples where they kind of did that right.
yeah.
Where Constantine wasn't Constantine by any stretch of the imagination. He wasn't Hellblazer, but it was still pretty cool. And the same with
It was awesome.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick Cage is funny kind of guy for me because he often lives by the rule of cool, even though there's nothing cool about him. He's like the most
No.
uncool dude, but yet
Yeah.
he is cool. How is that? I don't know. He's like some dimensional sink, Nick Cage. But we're not talking about Nick. We're talking about Norman Reedus, and I think it's a great
Norman
choice.
is the opposite.
Yeah,
Norman is he oozes a calm, a stoic coolness about him,
yeah, yeah.
especially when he's playing that Daryl character. And would imagine that's why if this is true, that would be why they're talking to him. They want somebody who can have that physical presence
Yeah,
to play Johnny Blaze, and I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
and he could
The
do
only
other than
problem is yes, can he open up and be another? Now I know he can because I've seen him in other stuff. Be
sure.
more than just that quiet, stoic, smoldering character, um, and more of a brash, loud things like this that he'll probably have to be Johnny. A little bit more arrogant,
Yeah,
much more full of hubris, all that stuff.
yeah. Well,
I think he'd be a great choice. I like it more and more the more I think about it. I think he'd be fine. I think
yeah,
he'd
I
be
think so.
great.
Well, and go look at him in Blade 2. I mean, so he
Yeah,
can be that kind of very, very different kind of character. The guy's got does have range. He's just kind of been shoeboxed by Walking Dead. But I think it's great news. I have no problem with it. I want to see more Ghost Rider stuff. At least it's not a female version. Thank God. Of course, right, you could do a female version. Doesn't really matter. But
yeah.
anyway, let me catch the chat. The chat's got a bunch of stuff here. Let me see. Bill says, yeah, the limitations of the character, talk about Deadman, really added a level of suspense that you didn't see in the other comics. True. The Silver Age. He could never win with an uppercut or an aggressive power. No, that's true. Raj says, yeah, like Thunder was saying, they need to start to develop him as a character in the supernatural realm. Deadman needs to be, yeah, no, sure, but his limitation is kind of the. It's a cool aspect of Deadman. I should suggest you go read a couple of comics on it. It's an interesting character. Norman Reedus will make a good Ghost Rider, says Roger. I agree. Um, the Ghost Rider movies are so goofy. They were,
It worked.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When Nick Cage
But
is in it, it's gonna be
guys,
goofy, dude. I mean, come on.
for some reason we've allowed ourselves to, and I'm probably guilty of this too, to fall into this trap that comic book movies need to be serious. Why can't they be campy? Comic books are campy as shit. Why can't they have a little camp in them? Why can't they be a little over the top and ridiculous? I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you set your tone and you stick with it. You don't Ragnarok it. You don't go all over the place. You just,
Oh, that was
this
so
is my tone and
ridiculous.
this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
and I think the MCU has kind of made us like kind of conditioned the audience now to expect a certain thing out of a superhero movie, like a certain cadence, a certain tone, quips and stuff. And some superheroes that work, that's fine. I think Spider-Man would work if they would actually, give us a Spider-Man movie.
Right.
That would work fine in that formula.
That was the
And
only thing
Iron Man
good about the
obviously does.
well, that's the only thing good about Garfield's Spider-Man. He's quippy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Ghost Rider, that's not going to work unless you lean into it right from the get and you just let it be silly.
Like
If you
Nick
let it be
Cage.
silly,
Yeah.
yes, then it's fine. If you try to take it seriously and then put silliness in there, it falls apart. Ghost Rider will fall apart entirely. It can either be all or nothing with a character because Ghost Rider is extreme as a character. He's an extreme character. He's a spirit of vengeance. He turns into a flaming skull for crying out loud.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground there with a character like that. So you
No.
gotta pick your tone and you gotta just stay on that thing like a razor.
Yeah, but you
And
you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna go grim dark with it, dude. You know they are.
uh, I'm
Uh,
fine with that.
yeah, that's fine. I think it's a good idea. I'd love to see more Ghost Rider. And it was funny enough in the original Ghost Rider with Nick Cage that he was 20 plus years older than the girl who's supposed to be the same age as him, that little
Yes.
hottie. And I was like, yeah, okay, you go, Nick. You
Here's
go,
my
Nick.
question: Norman Reedus as Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. Why not Norman Reedus in some form of Western? Because I think he would kill a Western as the lead of a
Yeah,
Western.
I think so too. He'd be a good Western actor. I think I get him staying with The Walking Dead so long because there's money, and he's well
Yeah.
known now. But he's gonna have a hard time chipping out of that shell, dude. He really is.
Yeah.
Alan says you watch both movies while you're listening to Motorhead or Pantera. Mute it, and then listen to Motorhead and Pantera. Then they're cool. All right, fair enough. But I actually like the original. I thought it was fun.
I don't. The second one's absolute
It
trash,
is bad.
but the
It is bad.
but the first one is just the right amount of silly
Yeah,
that it allows it to get away with a lot more
yeah,
because it's a rule of cool movie. And Ghost Rider is typically a rule of cool character, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's
yeah.
perfectly fine. So I don't know. And also I like Nick Cage. I don't know
Yeah, we love
why.
we love
I
Nick
just
Cage. No one
I
knows
just
why.
love me some Nick Cage.
Nobody knows why. And he had a major contribution to that movie, by the way. Johnny Blaze eating jelly beans out of a champagne glass. That was him.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
perfect
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
I'll just tell you right now, I don't want a Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider personally. I know that's probably what they're going to do because it makes the most sense. I want a his name just left me. The old Western one, the cowboy in the
Sam
movie.
Elliott won. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I can't think of his actual character name. I
Oh,
want that one as a Ghost Rider, and I think Reedus would be great at that as a Western Ghost Rider. Come on,
he
man.
might be. And Bill just mentioned Norman as Jonah Hex. Maybe.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he would be great in an old west setting, and you could technically just do a modern western with
Sure.
Ghost Rider. That would be
Totally.
fine because Ghost Rider's such a phantasmal character, and he's a spirit of vengeance and all these things. You could almost do like a cool take on like a High Plains Drifter or something like that,
Oh
right? He
yeah.
rides like we don't
That'd be neat.
necessarily need to see the origin story. Let's just jump right into a Ghost Rider tale where he's out here to judge somebody.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Could be cool.
But yeah, no, absolutely. But then again, I mean, like you could just do like a Tarantino style, which everything is like a modern Western with him, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on. But I think it's cool news. It's cool. Now, go ahead and read this.
Critics' reviews arrive for Netflix's Cowboy Bebop, confirming everything fans predicted. Yep. Yep.
Can can I take a half step back with this live action Cowboy Bebop, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Um, the critics hate it, and these are the ones like Salon and Slate and Polygon, all these ones that are supposed to support this kind of stuff. They hate this to death, right? The fans are going to hate it too, maybe probably. But here's something I noticed because now we're getting information because of the reviews, which we only had her stupid mouth and just screenshots from the set. You know what I
Hmm.
think they did with this? I think they made it a parody. I don't think it was ever intended to be straight up Cowboy Bebop. I think it's a parody, and that's their intention as a parody.
Well, I don't know if that was their intention insofar as in good faith, or if they just really wanted to piss people off and made it a parody. But I'm starting to think it's the latter because I've seen some of the reviews for this, and they are just abysmal.
Oh,
They
they
are
hate it. They
shredding
hate it.
this thing,
Yeah.
and it's like there's people who have said. One of the guys said something to the effect of, kind of like what we were saying. If you're going to make changes to it, at least bring something new to the table. This not only doesn't do that, it actually subtracts from the original work. Like,
Right.
oh my god!
I think the end result is a negative. But I feel like I haven't seen it, of course, but I feel like they went in to make a parody, and we see this happening a lot these days, which is why I put it in the headline for the show. A lot of times, if they can't figure out how to make it better, they parody it, and we see a
Yeah,
lot of that. A lot of old things that they'll take and make a parody, a joke of it, because they can't figure out how to do it better. And I kind of feel that's what they've done here. You see how she's winking here, tongue in cheek. I from what I'm reading and seeing, it's all that. Because the complaints we're getting a lot is you turn it into a Saturday morning cartoon and da 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 da. I think the intention was to be a goofy parody, not to make actual Cowboy Bebop. Now, with that in mind, what is your opinion now?
no, that would if that's the case, that'd make me even more angry
Okay, okay,
because that's fucking retarded. Why would you waste all this time, waste all this money, waste all this energy, and waste any shred of good faith and what's the word I'm looking for, reputation, whatever you want to call it, that you've built up on a joke, basically.
yeah,
Nobody wants Cowboy Bebop to be parodied. Nobody. Not even
yeah.
people who don't like it.
I
If you're going, no, but first of all, nobody wanted you to do this, and this was vociferous across social media. People were like, "This is stupid. Don't do it.
get him,
Stop.
Eric.
Go the other way.
Get him.
Reverse course." The whole thing is dumb from the start. It shouldn't exist. The fact that they cast this creature as Faye
Mhm.
is enough. The only thing they got right is the damn dog.
Yeah,
It's the only
well,
thing.
they kind of universally look like that, so it's kind of easy. But
Well,
yeah, no,
hey,
I agree. And I don't need a parody either, but I feel like that was their intention. I haven't seen it, but it feels like that's the truth. And I would give this lady, I don't know her name, but I'll give her a little bit of advice. Don't never wink again in your life. Probably not a good idea. And here's the thing, it's funny for me as well. She's supposed to be this Hollywood actress, this sexy thing they chose for Faye Valentine. Um, I, my wife is way hotter than her, dude. How are
yeah,
and then she's just a normal wife. How
it's
in the
just a normal wife.
but you know what I
I
mean.
can, I can tell she's not in the room at the moment.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I mean. I mean, and you're supposed to be playing a Faye Valentine. I mean, there's plenty of characters you don't have to be attractive for. That's fine. But you're a Faye Valentine, and I mean, Jesus Christ, lady. But we'll see. I'm going to check it out. I agree with you. I don't need a parody of Cowboy Bebop, but we see a lot of these people that redo things, reboot them, and they turn them into parodies because they can't figure out what else to do with it, right? Because they're not clever enough. We've seen it with so many movies, right? That
Yeah.
they parody stuff. But whatever. Hopefully, this thing will die and go away.
The
Hopefully.
only person I would want to try to make this, to try and make a live action Cowboy Bebop, is Villanueva, who made Dune. That's it. He's the only one
Yeah.
allowed, in my opinion, ever
Yeah.
again, until in Hollywood, to make adaptations. Because he's the only one who seems to take source material seriously. Everybody else pretends like source material. Literally, in the case of Star Wars, they'll just straight tell you, well, there is no source material, even though there's literally catalogs of it. Uh,
Oh yeah. Idiots.
it's preposterous, and this is the type of thing we're talking about right here. Cowboy Bebop's another example. They obviously looked at the source material, and I would say somebody on that set is a fan of the original.
Probably. Yeah. Probably
I mean, they
several of them. Yeah.
tried to get some of the aesthetic, right? The
Yeah.
outfits Well, at
Well,
least his outfit
well,
looks
that's the
right.
thing. You know,
Stuff like that.
she was going on about costumes and I can't wear sexy stuff and the costume designer. But when we look at what she's actually in, look at what she's in the cockpit here. I mean, it's they did try to make her sexy. They did.
Yeah.
So they're lying through their damn teeth. She's just not a sexy girl. She's just not.
No.
And that's okay. There's plenty of roles she could play just fine. I would have much rather seen her, for instance, in Shang-Chi than stupid Aquafina. Because God, she sucks. She would have been a much better choice. And the kind of normal girl next door who's his girlfriend, because that they were clearly trying to play that it's his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Kinda, but there was zero chemistry, and I think the reason they backed away from a kiss or anything like that, can other than her putting a head on his shoulders, because there was no damn chemistry, right? I think that was, one of the reasons what happened when they were filming. She would have been a better choice for that. It would have been perfect, girl, the kind of the your standard hometown girl type of thing. It would have been fine. But whatever, whatever. Moving on. Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh no. Disney announces several new Marvel animated series, including X-Men the Animated Series continuation. Remember we were saying abort, go back,
Yeah,
don't do this. This
yeah,
is stupid.
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
don't do this.
yeah.
Don't do this. I don't care if you bring in every single person who worked on the original. No
They're
need to
not.
do it.
They're not.
No, I know, but
No.
I don't. Let's say they were. Let's say they. I'm sure some of them are dead by now. Let's say they were all still kicking. They're all still right there, ready to go. Like they never even left. They're ready to start tomorrow. No, just don't. Don't do it. It's a different time. It's not going to work. The animation's going to look like shit. We all know it is. Just don't. Just don't. Sometimes that's the answer, Chester. It's all the
Yeah.
deeper you need to go. Is
Well,
just don't.
it's often the answer. To just look at a few of these, of course, mainly we're here to talk about X-Men '97, which is literally continuing. It's a not a sequel. It's just a carrying on from the last point. What if season two? Don't care. Don't care because all they're going to do is use this for wokeness, which they did already, and that's fine. That's where it belongs. It belongs in What If. That's fine. All right.
Yep.
Spider-Man freshman year, maybe. I don't know. Don't really care. I seriously doubt it's going to be really, really badass. And if it is, we'll check it out. Of course. I Am Groot is for the little ones. Great, no problem. Marvel Zombies never liked it. I know a lot of people love the Marvel Zombies run. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. But to each
Mm.
his own. I hope it's great. For those who like it, I hope it's awesome. Because we know there are people, just like we mentioned with the Cowboy Bebop, there are people who love this material and they want to make great things. We know there are, right? But this is the one we want to talk about right here, of course. X-Men '97, and the thing you got to keep in mind is, as soon as this news came out, a lot of people lost their minds. Oh my God! Because the X-Men animated series from the '90s was really good. It was. It's for me. I know this is sacrilege to many of you. Wasn't as good as Batman the animated series or any of the things that followed after, but it was pretty good for an X-Men, I thought. Now, here's the problem. The guy who's in charge of directing this and the entire team, the guy, he's pretty young to be in charge of a lot of stuff, to be fair. But beyond that, he is ultra woke SJW.
Of
Ultra,
course. Yeah.
ultra, 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 ultra. There is no way this is going to be one, cool. It's going to, or even topical. It's going to be full on woke nonsense. It's going to be, get them, get them, get them. That's all it's going to be. This is a absolute train wreck incoming, and they haven't even really started working on it. Really, they probably just got set boards and ideas going. But you have to understand, don't get excited about this because the dude involved, out of all this stuff that's being done, he is the most ultra woke. I mean, he makes most woke people. He tells them to hold his beer. I mean, that's how woke he is. This guy's
Of course.
insane. Go check out his Twitter feed. My God, dude.
All right, Chester, let's do it right now. I got a nickel. He's turning one of these characters gay,
Oh yeah,
and I'm going to put my nickel on. Ooh, who's he going for? Nightcrawler. He's going to make Nightcrawler gay.
I'd say Wolverine.
Ooh, you're going big, huh?
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. Or not? He'll make him bisexual. Is what he's going to do.
Oh yeah, him and it'll actually be that he's in love with Scott. You see,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the
that's
real
the real
twist.
thing.
The
That's the
Gene
twist.
thing's a red herring. It's really Scott he's
Yeah,
trying to get close to.
yeah, yeah. And they have a menage a
Oh,
trois while they're drunk or something, even though we know Wolverine
oh
can't become drunk.
Christ!
Yeah, yeah. I guarantee it, dude. I
Why
guarantee it.
does Wolverine drink anyway?
I know what a waste of time because for a half a second of a buzz, I guess. Yeah, don't. This is sad. I mean, they can't. They have to touch it, put their little grubby fingers all over everything, but don't get excited about this, people. This is not going to be
Yeah,
what you
please
want.
don't.
It's
Please
certainly
don't
not.
fall for the nostalgia bait. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
yeah.
They're not going to do that series that deserve the service that it deserves.
Even though it's full
Uh,
of women, there's many female characters in it, important ones. They will. They won't though. Yeah.
maybe we'll finally. I kid. Obviously, we're not gonna. I was gonna say maybe we'll finally get something with Storm that isn't just trash, but we both know that isn't gonna happen because they hate Storm
Yeah.
for no real
Why?
reason.
We still don't get that, do we? Because
No.
she's a cool character. She's definitely what you want. But they can't stand her and they don't use her. I saw a comic that came out with her in the net past so many years here, she was just they turned her into this racist bigot,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, you do realize she's not actually American. She's African.
Yeah.
Have you ever spoken
Correct.
to a black African? I have. They don't
Yeah, they're
think
not.
like American blacks at all. Matter of fact, let me give you a little bit of a hint, a secret. They hate American blacks. They think
A lot
they're
of them.
spoiled, entitled little shitheads. That's what black Africans think of American blacks. And I've met many of them, many of them, and they all have that opinion. Most people kind of look down on America, and I get it because the American government can, it's very powerful, so a little bit of jealousy, and they stick its nose in where it doesn't belong all the time. But usually they like American people, right? That's not a
Yeah.
problem because we're so friendly. We're like the most friendly people in the world. We'll make friends in 5 seconds. I mean, it's an American for you. But they really don't like American blacks, dude. They're anti it. So here you have Aurora, who is an African lady. She wouldn't be like some urban Detroit, black racist. She wouldn't be. But that's what they're doing with her. Yep, you go BLM. So Cyclop will be a cuck. Of course he will, Bill. He's always a cuck. It's his job in life. It's his
Yeah.
existence. Anyway, moving on from this. It's sad news. Sad news. Sad news. Oh, okay. I have to follow it up with more sad news. I do apologize.
DC possibly repeating the death of Superman to make Jonathan Kent the permanent replacement for Clark. Listen, DC. Anybody at DC, anyone, from the mailroom to the guy who opens the door, there's one Superman. His name is Clark Kent.
Or
He's
Cal
from
L.
Kansas. Well, he's from Smallville, Kansas. He was raised by two loving parents
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mom and dad.
who instilled their Midwestern American values into him.
Yeah, yeah.
You could even say their Christian values into him.
That's the whole point. Because Jor-El's a dick.
Yeah. This thing is nothing. Nobody cares. Nobody will remember his name in 10 years, except for super weird nerds who remember these things. And everybody will still think of Clark Kent, Kal-El, as Superman.
Yeah. That doesn't matter what
I
they
mean,
do.
they could do whatever they want. They could spend $200 million on a campaign about replacing Superman, and in 5 years, no one will remember.
Yeah.
No, I know. How much you think the budget was for the marketing for Batman v Superman? How many people still talk about that?
Nobody. Because it sucked balls.
Yup.
It was a bad movie, though. I mean, let's be fair. That's
Well,
a whole
if this
nother
hasn't
layer.
been good either.
Well, whatever they
This has
do with
been
it, right?
trash.
But and it because they really don't like Ma and Pa Kent. They really don't. They've shown
Yeah, I
this
don't
over
get
and
that.
over
I
and
don't
over.
get the best part about it is there's no reason for them to hate Ma and Pa Kent except that they're racists.
Yeah,
Because Ma and Pa Kent are two old white people who are everything they say that they want the world to be. They're not xenophobic, they're not racist, they're not bigoted at all in any way. They're super compassionate, loving, and open to pretty much everybody. Like they're what you would think these so-called progressives want for people of their age. That's what Ma and Pa Ken are,
yeah.
and they instilled those values into Clark.
Which is the point. I mean,
Yes.
if you go back to 37 when they came out with Superman, Mom and Pa Kent were part of the story from the inception because it's the point. His
Yep.
dad is, I guess we could call him universally good, Jor-El. I mean, he is tyrannically good. How about that?
Yep.
Because his intention is ultimately a good thing, what he wants to do, but he understands that you have to break a few eggs to get there, right? And therefore he's a megalomaniac type of tyrannical leader king guy is who Jor-El is. And they did that very intentionally. They could have made a sweet nice guy, but they didn't. They made him that
Yes.
way to juxtapose him to the teaching that Ma and Pa Kent gave him, right?
That's right.
That's what makes him Superman, not his
Yeah.
father. He's better than the Kryptonians. That's the whole damn
Yeah.
point. And who he's
It's
fucking doesn't matter.
well, it does to these people because they're psychotic and obsessed with that sort of thing.
The
They
kid is
can't
yelling.
they can't let it go. It's something they think about when they're all alone at night in their bedroom, as they're reflecting on the fact that their parents hate them. They're thinking about, God, I need Superman to fuck a dude.
Yeah,
I
these
don't, I
people
can't
are
live
so
with
sad.
myself unless Superman is having sex with men.
They're
I can't.
so they're so sad people.
Just miserable.
Do you think they'll ever find any peace in life?
No, what'll they'll probably happen, unfortunately, is they never will. They'll end up miserable and alone in their 40s and kill themselves. Because that's what happens to a lot of these
Sad, dude.
psychos. And
Sad.
I'm not saying that with glee. That's just what happens to a lot of these weirdos. That nobody wants to be with them because they're weird and they're narcissistic and controlling, and they end up alone and miserable. Just recently, one of the biggest feminists of all time, I can't remember which one, I can't remember her name, but she came out talking about how she was wrong and she told all these women they could have it all, and now she's 60 and alone and has nobody to call her on Sundays.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, no, of course it's true. I mean, people are telling you the tradition of thousands of years of human existence.
yeah,
But they constantly want to look down on the past. But the past has done things better than we do things in many ways, right?
yeah,
And I've said this many times, to students and things like that. People, will spend their entire existence trying to understand the meaning of life, right? And it's literally a truthful statement I just made. But the meaning of life is really, really simple. Be happy.
yeah,
It's not more than that. Nothing more matters. And these people are very unhappy people. I mean, we sit here and joke and angst and bitch about it. But we're doing it from a point of view that, it's dumb and we'd like to see something else, but it's not going to end my life that Superman's gay. I don't ultimately really care. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to consume it. That's all. That's really my action. Is I'm just not going to watch it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to be part of it or whatever. It's unfortunate, but that's the end of it for me. For these people, they're pinning their existence on these things, and it's tearing at their soul, dude. It's really sad. It's really sad. And I wish we could had the ability to just talk to them and say, "Hey, man, relax.
yeah,
Be happy, man. Go listen to Bob Farley. What was his name? The Be Happy guy. Don't worry. Be happy. That guy. Go listen to his song.
yeah.
Be happy.
Woo.
Yeah, great song.
I
But
agree with you.
yeah,
I think the wisdom of the founders of America, wisdom specifically of Thomas Jefferson, as he was the one who wanted it changed. Uh, when they changed life, liberty, and property to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,
yeah,
because the pursuit of happiness is the meaning of life. Find the thing that makes you happy, and as long as you're not hurting anybody else,
yeah.
do it.
Do that. That's right, man.
It's as
It's
simple
really
as
that
that.
simple. Just be happy, dude, for God's sake. And of course, if comic books are really, really, really important to you, and that's part of the subculture you live in, it's fine. There are plenty of old books to read, and there are
Oh, you'll
plenty
never
of
run out.
new indie books. You'll never run out, and plenty of new
Yeah.
indie books to check out as well. It's unfortunate these iconic characters have become targets for these people, but whatever. We got Spencer Tunes in here. Hey, Spencer. We're
Hey,
trying to spread the
Spencer.
love, Spencer. This is a love fest, a sit-in.
And I agree
So
with
welcome.
the Howl comics. If we had sane copyright laws in this country,
Well, he is public domain,
Superman would be full public domain, and
but he is
then
though.
they can do whatever they want.
The original
Yeah,
Superman
he
is
is a
public
It
domain.
depends on. It depends on what you do with him. You can do a lot with him. Like I've said, there's a couple. There's that Joe Kent, that guy running for Congress in Washington. His name's Joe Kent, and he has ridiculous Superman chin. Like he's got the jaw of Superman. It's perfectly chiseled.
Yeah.
And I said he should definitely be using Superman iconography in his campaign. You probably could do that. You could probably get away with that. Um,
Well, just use
Stuff
the
like that.
original 1937 Superman.
Yeah.
He didn't fly. He was nowhere near the power level he is now. His S was very different. His costume was very different. If you use the 1937 or probably even 39 Superman by this point, you're actually you'd be up to 41, wouldn't you? You're good. You're good. Just use that. You can't use any of his powers or things that came later, but as long as you use the original Superman, he is in public domain. It's just there's the thing. If you have him flying or doing other stuff, like, 'cause I can't remember what year his flying came in. Although it's coming soon because they made him in flying fairly quickly. Um, I think somewhere in the 40s. I'm not 100% sure. But whatever. I'm going to move on from this. But
Um,
so sad, man.
First of all, you didn't do the death of Superman right the first time.
No,
So this time's really you already blew that wad. If they had done that right and let him be dead for a while, that could have been the most. Well, at the time, it was the most important comic of all time.
it was,
It
and
could
it
have
was big
stayed
too.
that.
It actually was
It
on
could
the
have
news.
stayed that. Oh, it was on local
Yeah.
news. It was like it was that big.
And back
It
in
could have
those
stayed
days,
that.
well, back in those days, nobody talked about comic books on the news, dude. Never.
No, you weren't. No, no,
No.
no, no. It could have stayed that way had they not fumbled it. Had they not got, if they would have just got out of their own way, taken a break on the character for a couple, even just a couple years, would have been better than what they did with it.
So
But they didn't.
that seems a bit weird, Eric, that you're saying that because I do believe that the public domain is 75 years.
I think it's 100 now. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure Disney
Disney, frickin'
lobbied to
Disney,
get that shit changed. Yeah. I
bastards.
personally, I know we deal with a lot of artists around here, but for anything like that, personally, and I'm writing a book. I disagree with all of those laws, especially when the original once the original creator is has passed on. I think it should go into public domain immediately.
Yeah,
That's just my
although
opinion on it.
I don't mind that a percentage of the proceeds go
Yeah,
to the estate.
I think
I don't
that's
mind
fine.
that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think that's fine too. But I think as far as being able to monetize it, as long as you pay whatever is the legal due diligence, fine. I don't see why that's even controversial, personally.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
yeah, whatever. Yeah.
new details emerge about Henry Cavill's upcoming Highlander film. I forgot about that. I'm
Yeah.
super excited for that.
Well, they want Henry in everything now, which I get. I get.
I do too.
He's a
I
good-looking
do
dude.
too.
He's in
Just give him
amazing
all the
shape.
work.
Yeah.
All the work.
I don't know how I feel about him in the Highlander though. And it's weird because of all the stuff they want to throw him in, this makes the most sense because he is English and he's actually half Scottish, I think. So I mean, he's kind of perfect, racially perfect. You know how they are about that with the identity politics.
Yeah.
He's perfect to be a Highlander of some kind. I don't know if we're going to get a complete reboot or we're going to get some continuation. I'm not sure what they're going to do. They haven't said. However, there is a statement in this article because I don't know why, but there's just something about Henry Cavill playing Highlander. I just was like, yeah, I'd rather not, personally. And you're the opposite, because
Oh
I
yeah.
love Henry. I don't know why I feel that way. It's nothing about Henry at all. I don't know what it is, but whatever. It's coming, and I hope it's awesome. But there's a statement here I thought was very interesting. Where is it? It's right about here. It is. Okay. They were talking to Henry, and he gave a tiniest sliver of information. Fucking Tom Cruise. But He says this Stahelski's vision.
Listen, Polish guy. Listen, I like Poles, but your names are ridiculous.
Yeah,
Get that sorted
they
out.
are ridiculous. The Slavic, especially the Baltic Slav names and Thailand names, Thai names
Yeah, they're
are
just
out
nonsense words.
ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, he says his vision is a more grounded. And listen to this. A more grounded in reality take than the original movies and show, and will likely play a bit more like a modern tragedy. I don't like the sound of that at all, dude, at all. And I was kind of like, I don't know, Henry is a Highlander. I was
Modern
kind of like,
tragedy.
before. This statement really makes me concerned.
Uh,
I don't know.
I don't know what he means. I'd have to see this interview if it's been recorded. See what he's because when you get it in print, you lose a
Yeah,
lot of the
body
nuance of what he,
language,
yeah, how he's
intonation.
saying
Yeah, it's
things,
true.
right?
Yeah.
So he could just be saying that it's gonna be a little bit less camp than the first, like a little bit less of the like Kurgan was campy as hell, but he
Oh,
was
he was
awesome.
awome, dude.
Yeah,
He was
maybe
so
that's
freaking
what he means.
awesome. We were just talking
Is it
about him
gonna
as the
be
voice of
less of
Lex
that?
Luthor. Yeah.
Yes, less of that over the top villain. Maybe that's what he means by grounded in reality. Because I don't know how you take a story about immortals that decapitate each other and strip that away and then still
How?
call it the same thing.
That's what
You
makes
know
me
what I mean?
worried, right?
Yeah.
How would that be Highlander? And Clancy Brown as a Kurgan is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And that would be my biggest problem with you just rebooting it, which I think would be better to make him a different character, because you're not replacing Clancy. There's
No.
no freaking way, right? So I don't know, and maybe
You know
that's what I'm
what? You
worried
know
about.
who could maybe pull that off? Dave Batista.
No way, dude. No way. I mean,
I
he'd
think he
look
could pull it
cool.
off.
You could have him as this Persian guy. You can make him, something like that. And, you could use Dave and he'd be fine as something
Yeah.
different.
Well, I'm not
But
saying make him necessarily Kurgan. I
yeah,
don't think you need to do that. But
no.
make him that character in the. What I mean is like that's his role. He's the antagonist. But if you're gonna do a big over the top, imposing guy like Kurgan was, and then obviously he was insane. Uh, I think Batista could pull that off. I think Batista because what makes Kurgan great is he's funny because he's so ridiculous. He's funny, and I think you could do that very well with Batista. I think Batista could pull that off. I think him as Drax is hilarious. He's got comic timing.
Yeah, no, I don't
So
have
if you
trouble with
find a way to
Batista.
translate that into like an over the top version,
He's an idiot, though.
well, yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
most
And
actors are. They can't
and
all be Henry.
Jeff Potts, I have two balls that are available for sucking, sir. Two. Anyway, you come in here,
And
Jeff,
only
if you
one
want.
wife. And only one wife. That's a shame, Chester.
I know. She's a busy girl. But Tom Cruise dating Lucy Liu. I do believe she's married to like a billionaire, dude. I don't think Lucy's never struck me as that dumb a girl. I have a feeling she's still with
Well,
her
she's
billionaire.
Asian. Yeah, she's probably
Yeah,
smart.
yeah. I don't know that she's
I
dating Tom Cruise. And besides,
unless
she hit
they
that wall. She hit that wall pretty hard, dude. I don't know if you've
unless
seen her
they put
recently.
do some really stupid woke shit with Highlander, which I doubt because Cavill doesn't seem to be down with that. I don't know if he's opposed to it, but he hasn't been in anything too crazy woke. The wokest thing he's been in that I've seen is Witcher, and the only really woke thing they did there was all the race swapping. But
Yeah,
other than
no,
that,
no, because it's not about the Geralt. It's about the other ones. That's the wokeness of it,
correct.
which I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't mind. They should have just called it The Witcher Yennefer or Yennefer's
yeah.
Story or something like that. I had no problem with that. I thought the story of Yennefer was pretty good.
They could have called it Yennefer and the Witcher, and it would have been more accurate
Oh
titling.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's the thing
Uh,
that gets me with a lot of this stuff. The title characters are not the main characters in these things recently, and it's like, stop it. Just go ahead and do the show you want to do. If you want to do your Yennefer, then do Yennefer.
yes. Hang on,
And
let me
and
pop this out real quick.
well, the thing
Where's
is that the story they did with Yennefer was fine. I thought it was good. But if they had stopped with the whole, trying to keep Geralt in the story artificially and just focused on Yennefer 100%, and occasionally she meets him because she does during her life, it would have been a better Yennefer story, right?
Yes.
But it's nonsense, dude. I don't know what they're thinking with this. We'll see. Um, I don't know what it is about Henry Cavill. I love him in so many things. I'm a fan of Henry. I guess I'm not a fan of anyone, am I? But I like Henry. But I just don't know about this one, dude. And this guy, this little shit right here.
See,
Just-
listen, as a person, me and Tom Hanks, he's he's something. Or Tom Hanks. Well, Tom Hanks too. Tom Cruise. He's something,
I
but
never got Tom Cruise. I never got into him.
oh
I
man,
mean,
I like the Mission Impossible movies. They're good. They're
yeah,
good action flicks.
they're not bad, and he runs well. I'll give him that.
He does run very. He's made a lot of money being good at
He
being good looking at
true.
running.
But here's the thing. He from a male point of view, he's like, okay, fine. But from a female view, I never got the women's appeal to him. I mean, yeah, I guess he's a handsome fella. He's eternally young, which good for him. But he's like 5'2", and no woman would want him. You listen to these women all the time. He's got to be thick foot. He's got to be thick foot. They go on and on and on about it. Women are like that, which is stupid because you know what percentage of population is 6 foot or higher? Like my height, 6'3". You know how many of us
Oh,
there
very
are?
few.
Hardly, hardly. I in my life I've hardly seen people taller than me. I've seen some, but it's rare. It's like every decade or so I run into someone taller than me, right?
Well, you're
That
also in Japan. That
well,
doesn't help.
that's fair. But you know what I mean. Even when I was younger, but he's this sawed-off little guy that if he wasn't a Hollywood celebrity, they would never date him, right? I no
Yeah,
never understood Tom Cruise. Whatever. If you're a Tom Cruise lover, Jeff, well, you can sleep with him then, Jeff. Okay, I said my piece.
I will say when you look at that picture right there of Henry and Tom, one man is just peak
Oh my
masculine,
God,
and
dude,
the other
tear your
is
goddamn head off.
he looks like he looks like a lawyer. That's what he looks like. He
or
looks
or a
he gives lawyer energy.
professor or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Some
But
unthreatening.
Henry looks like a warrior. He's built like a warrior. He's got the physique of a warrior. He's got the calm, stoic personality of a warrior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like Henry Cavill a lot. He's one of the few people in Hollywood. There's a lot of men actually lately who are just chill dudes, and it's weird.
It's good,
Uh,
actually. Yeah.
well, I agree it's good, but
I
it's
you know
strange when you juxtapose them with the females who are by and large just insufferable.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a problem. It's definitely a shift. I have to say that when I was younger, I was half as buff as Henry. So take that, Jeff. Half,
No,
half.
Potch, you should have full access, bud. Your
48.
name's
Yeah,
read and
yeah,
everything.
get Jeff in here. He's funny, dude. But
Click the live stream waiting room, and I'll drag you in, and maybe
yeah,
it just
maybe
takes a
that's the
minute.
problem. But yeah, Jeff, come on in. Yeah, no, Henry's he's cool and he's in his prime, so I'm happy that he's getting all these opportunities because we want to build a filmography for Henry. And you know the cool thing about Henry that I so far I think it'll change in the future. But one thing so far, it isn't necessary to him that he not be pigeonholed into something. He's happy to be pigeonholed. He's like, no, I'm an auteur, I'm an actor. I have to go out and make a film about a deaf man in a wheelchair who's lost all his arms and legs. He doesn't have to do that shit, right? He's happy to be pigeonholed as the badass warrior guy. He's cool with it,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
you go.
What a terrible fate! You get to make
Yeah,
millions of dollars and be seen as a badass. Oh no!
yeah, and
Please don't pigeonhole me into that
right.
one.
And to be fair, Tom Cruise is the same. He's allowed himself to be that, and that's cool. I do appreciate that. But anyway, let's continue here because I do have
There
a
he
lot of
is.
stories. Hey Jeff,
There he is. Can you hear us?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There
Hey,
he
how's it
is.
going? So
Hey,
so right or left, sir?
right or left? What?
ball, testicle.
Jesus.
Someone's just angry about the Lucy Lou statement, aren't they?
How dare you disparage Lucy Liu?
That's okay. I'm on many you're dead to me lists anyway, so
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. How you doing today, Jeff?
pretty good.
It's good to hear
And
you,
they
man.
will and any reboot of Highlander will be nothing but garbage because they'll crap all over it.
They might. It would be. I don't mind. if they didn't do a reboot, but they just did a story from a different point of view, like making him Anglo-Saxon, right? And an Anglo-Saxon immortal, and how he kind of traversed the years or something like that. But they're not going to. You're right.
No, they're not. And the other thing about Dave Bautista is while he does have some comedic timing, he's no Clancy Brown.
No, God no.
And that guy not only did that role make him, he owned that
Yeah.
Oh
role.
yeah, he's sharp as a
And
tack, Clancy, man.
yeah. So I don't know. I
I don't
just
know.
don't
I don't think
I don't
there's
see it going well.
anybody in there right now who could pull that off. In
No,
all honesty,
I
like,
can't. I was sitting here
No.
thinking, I can't. Yeah. He was so badass. It was so perfect. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on. I got two
Happy
more stories.
Halloween, ladies.
so silly.
But it's great though. Well, I got two stories here. Go ahead.
Where are we? Hang on, my thing's freaking out on me. What am I looking at?
You're looking at what I'm showing.
Hang on. Hang on. Oh, all I see is a. Oh, that is what you're showing. Your hero story is just getting started. Get vaccinated today.
Okay.
Didn't
No.
see that part.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I like how they have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 people on here who absolutely would not be in any need of any vaccinations for anything.
I know. Yeah, all of them actually. But here's the thing about this, and you guys pipe in on what your opinion is. But I personally don't think you should force anyone to take any kind of shot or medication. It's kind of ridiculous. Should you take the vaccine? I mean, I don't see this. I don't really think it matters one way or the other, to be honest with you. However, I get the rhetoric about pushing adults to do it. I get the political rhetoric. I don't agree with it, but I get it. At least I understand it. I don't understand push this thing they're doing radically right now to get children vaccinated. I don't understand that. And it is extremely suspect to me that you want to put
Yeah.
something in a child's body that we know is working upon genomic adjustment, which means adjusting your DNA. That's what this is doing, right? And you want to put it in children and you're pushing like mad to do it. That is suspect as hell. That is suspect.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's this virus is kind of like, and I don't want to say kind of like, but in the way it attacks people, it's kind of like chicken pox. When you're young, you get chicken pox. It's no big deal. You're out of you get the pox and you're out of school. But I mean, kids barely tolerate it pretty well.
Sure.
The older you get, the worse it becomes.
Oh yeah.
I had chicken pox, and I was like, geez, I was near 30, and oh my God, it was horrible.
It can kill you
But
as an adult.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I also got COVID, and that put me in the hospital too. But if they don't have the numbers to say that it is affecting these kids, and
Not at
I think
all.
when you start making kids take vaccinations for, I mean, primarily a lot of those vaccinations are for childhood diseases because these diseases would kill off kids at a very early age.
Yeah.
But if it ain't killing them, why bother?
That's my question. And of course, Alan makes an interesting comment with the Pfizer needs more customers. So, which is it? Is it that Pfizer just wants to have? Because I feel like it's one of two things. They were pushing this idea and all these boosters as an idea to just kind of make money into the future. Because Pfizer like, well, we got money from the government. We want to make money from the people. Damn it! And it's just a way to kind of have this eternal booster shot and money making for Pfizer, or do we go the route of the crazy conspiracy theorists who are saying there's something in there that's actually they're trying to do something to the human population, which normally I would discount that 100%. However, This is getting suspect. The fact that they're pushing so hard with children.
I know.
I don't know what to say about it now.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I mean, I'm all for vaccines.
Sure.
I guess the vaccines are a net positive. There's some people who can't have them. That was a Epstein-Barr syndrome, I think. I think that's what it
Sure.
is.
I mean, there's always
But
exceptions to the rule. Yeah.
but I also think that let's be honest. The bureaucrats in Washington D.C. They're not the brightest bulbs in the box.
No,
And
they're not.
I have a feeling it's less it's less corporate greed by Pfizer, and you just have stupid people running the government.
I mean, that's what my initial assessment was. But with all this pushing for the kids, though, I don't know, dude. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm the same way. I'm just glad that my kids are grown.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And here in Japan, everybody's getting the vaccine. There isn't any conversations about it. It just is what it is. There's no, the media is not on about it every day. It's just kind of, a vaccine, and you just go get your vaccine, and it's free and whatever, it's done.
Yep.
But the politics on top of it over there are kind of weird. You got an opinion on this on Third and Narrow before I move on to my last story?
Do I got an opinion? Chester, you're a silly boy. Of
Oh,
course I've got an opinion, and that my opinion is they're not putting shit in me. They'll have to literally force it. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they take my house. I don't care if they put me in the street. I don't care if they break my legs. They're going to have to hold me down and force this thing into me. They're pushing too hard,
yep.
and I will not yield to that. I am an American sovereign. I will not be treated like a subject. And these people are the worst of the worst. Pfizer especially is the worst of the worst. They are by
Yeah,
far the worst pharmaceutical company on the planet, and it's not even close.
they
They've lost
constantly
so
get
many
sued, dude.
times.
Yeah,
Constantly, and they lose
yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
They've even been criminally reprimanded by a court, by a grand jury.
Several
They
times
are
in the
not
same year, actually.
Yes, they are not anyone to be trusted. This is a hill I am willing to die on. The only question that remains, are they willing to kill me on it?
Yeah. I
Simple as
mean,
that.
if you no, I get your point, and I understand that stance, and there's nothing wrong with it. You should have that right. However, this kind of folds in a little bit to the conspiracy theorist, right?
Hmm.
Because here's the thing: over here in Japan, there was no big deal made about it whatsoever, and I'm assuming most countries were like that. Therefore, everybody in Japan who could, I mean, obviously, if you have what Jeff was talking about, and you can't get it, well, they didn't get it. But there was no politicalization of it here whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the entire population just kind of did it, right? Now, if the conspiracy theorist is there's any truth to that whatsoever, well, then Japan, we're all just a bunch of suckers, right?
Yeah.
However, in America, the fact that they're pushing so radically hard, it's actually working against them, and you would think they
Yep.
would know this. A political strategist know this. There's a subtlety to politics. So
That's right.
I don't get this play. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense, which is what makes me suspect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even if they weren't pushing hard, I don't need it. I'm not in any. The only category I was in was I was very fat. I'm not anymore. Um, and I just simply don't need it. I did the math. I did it on Johns Hopkins University. They have a calculator for your risk, your personal risk. You can assess it. And obviously that's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. And I was like less than a fifth of a percent. I had a chance of having any kind of severe reaction or even catching it.
And
And
this
I'm
is
like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna eject myself for something when I could. Literally, I drive my car. When I drive my car, I have about a 1%. It's like 0.93% chance of dying. Every time you get behind the wheel of your car, that's your chance that you're going to get in a fatal car accident.
Ooh,
I am more likely, by a factor of 3, to die in a car accident than I am to die from COVID.
yeah,
So
sure.
I have no reason to inject it in me, especially since the vaccines aren't even really vaccines. They don't
They're
stop
not.
transmission.
No, they're not. Yeah. But
Well, I mean, no vaccine really stops transmission. It's
Well,
only
they
there to protect.
sterilize.
It basically what it does is it just pops up your immune system.
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
So
immunizer, is what it is. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
these don't immunize, is what I'm saying to you. They
Well,
don't.
what they do is they allegedly force the cells to produce spike proteins
Hmm.
on the actual virus, and then that triggers in your body to create antibodies, and I think they call them memory cells.
And those
But
antibodies wear out in 6 months
yeah, you get,
because
but
they
it
don't
also
immunize.
generates. Yeah,
Which is why they're
they
pushing the booster thing. Yeah.
Yes.
But
exactly.
I love how Joshua works so hard to be edgy. Good for you,
Uh-oh.
Joshua.
What do you do?
He always just keeps
Well,
changing
my
his
wife,
tag on.
Chester, you know
It's
this.
awesome.
My wife was in the COVID ward last
Yeah.
year at the height of the pandemic. She
Yeah.
worked the COVID ward for 8 months. She never saw one extra dime in pay, of course, because fuck her apparently. But every every day she worked, she was around and in with COVID patients every single day.
Sure.
And I should have listened to her at the start when she told me that this isn't a big deal. Now, I'm not saying COVID isn't serious. For some people, it is. But comparatively, the way they were behaving, compared to any of these other pandemics that we've had in the past, which we've had many of
Sure.
them, it's
Obama,
not that
H1N1.
it's not as big of a deal as the media is pretending it is. And she was with it every single day, seeing it, watching it, and that's why my opinion on it is: if it gets me, it gets me. I'm not going to live under the thumb of a bureaucrat because they're going to do it for my health. Okay, I'll do things for my own health. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and
It's just that
that's
simple.
and it's dumb the angle they're taking on it because you being not being vaccinated has no effect on those who are vaccinated, right?
That's right.
And we got into the minutia of it's not really a vaccination anyway, but it has no bearing on it. Therefore, it falls more into the category of, well, we're going to stop you from smoking or drinking or doing drug or something like this because it's for
Mhm.
your own good. And ultimately, they also make the argument because it saves money on Medicare and Medicaid. However, um,
So I'll make the argument that we should abolish Medicare and Medicaid. So
fair enough.
I don't really care if you
Uh,
save money on it. How about
uh,
we break that system?
Fair enough, but they use it as a guillotine over your head. That's what they
Of
do.
course. The
The
only problem
reality
I have
is,
with it, the main problem I have with it, is the coercion. There is literally, if they can get this through to where they can literally mandate to you that you can't work or you can work under very ridiculous circumstances without this, there's nothing stopping them from saying, all right, well, sugar's banned. We're going to regulate sugar. We're going to
Yep.
regulate anything at all
oh yeah,
that's potentially dangerous to your health. We're going to make sure. And now you have the British government. They're working on their own cryptocurrency, and they're programming this cryptocurrency. They might even have the ability just to shut off your ability to buy anything
oh
whenever
they're
they
trying to do
decide.
that. They're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, already.
So no, I don't want. I will not concede this. I won't. And that's why. Because the second you do, they take more. They're not going to stop. I mean, for
Yep.
crying out loud, it's supposed to be 15 days, and now we're at 610 days in. What the hell? That's a long 2 weeks. That's a long
Slow
2
the
weeks.
spread, baby.
It's slow the spread. Well, for me, it kind of fall. Also, this whole conversation falls into the another concept that in most every country in the world, suicide is illegal. Now, I'm not a proponent of suicide. I think there are a few situations I understand it with euthanasia and such. But in general, it's a coward's way out for sure.
Yes.
So I don't promote it whatsoever. But then again, you could do whatever you want to your body as far as I'm concerned. And I don't
Yep.
understand why we are litigating and legislating exactly what a person can choose to do with their body. As long as you're not
That's right.
hurting someone else, well, then why would you give a shit, Mr. Politician?
Well, why are we pushing other people's neuroses as if they're my responsibility? If you're that terrified of a virus, there's plenty of them out there that can get you.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Not just
yeah.
this one. I mean, there's ones that are way worse than this one. This
Jeff can
one, for
tell you
most
all about
people, is basically
viruses.
a
Oh,
bad
yes.
cold.
Mhm.
So if you're that worried about viruses, you need to just stay in a nice little sanitized area,
Yep.
make your house into a bubble house, and just have Amazon deliver you stuff. I guess is how you're going to survive,
Mhm.
because you're living in a madhouse if you think you can protect yourself at all times and be completely prevented from being around anybody with a virus. That's just not going to happen. And the more that they push these vaccines, especially since they don't actually create sterilization, and the people that they're equal chance of spreading, or very close to equal chance of spreading between the vaccinated and unvaccinated, as we've seen, that's going to cause mutation much faster than natural immunity would have, because now the virus is going to it's going to mutate more rapidly. It's going to mutate into more things. The way a variant works.
I'm somewhat suspicious of that. Go on.
Okay, the way a virus will work is when there's a variant of it, a mutation, it'll mutate a lot. There'll be a bunch of different mutations. Just most of them won't work.
Coronaviruses do that in particular.
Yes, that's why we can't get rid of the flu. That's why the flu is always going to be endemic.
Well, sure, and the flu shot you're getting now that you would normally get is the continued mutation of the Spanish flu. That's what it is. Right. It never went away. It's still here. And when you get your shot every year for your flu shot, you're dealing with the Spanish flu. That's what it is.
Yep.
Right?
I think humanity is better served if we bank on our immune system that so far, thankfully, is undefeated, and let it handle it. I think Sweden took mostly the right approach, and that plays out in the numbers. And Scandinavia, from what I understand, is basically just back to normal. Like it never even happened, really. They're treating it like
many countries.
Yeah.
Many countries.
And I think that was always the right approach. The problem in America that no one wants to talk about is everybody's too damn fat. That's the real problem. That's why it hit us so hard.
That's true.
Because we're so out of shape.
I think the difference with... Dylan, make this say this real quick, Jeff. I think the real difference with this is basically SARS-2 that has been artificially manipulated in a laboratory. That's where the difference comes in, because I have a feeling that every coronavirus that ever comes in is the same coronavirus. It's just been around whenever it was introduced into the world. It's just this one coronavirus that keeps mutating itself, and we just give it different names from century to century. I think the science shows that that's true. The difference with this one is it has been manipulated by scientists. That's the difference, right? And of course, that's the potentially terrifying aspect of it as well.
And I think that's the reason why it was so bad initially.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening is tapering off. But I think where the real problem is originally very early on, they've had these concepts where they're talking about, and I think this is where a lot of the coercion comes in, that if they get 70% of the people vaccinated, they will have this thing under control. And they don't. Well, we're already way past that, and they're trying to get 100%. It doesn't work like that. Number one, these types of viruses you don't control, then you have a bunch of people out there thinking, well, if we get everybody vaccinated, it will eradicate the virus, and that will not happen.
No. We
haven't been able to eradicate the flu. And it's because of the way the viruses work when they replicate. There's always a chance of mutation, and trying to have a vaccine when a new variation comes up that's a losing game, because by the time you develop a vaccine for that new mutation and that new variation, another one will pop out. So you're always behind the 8 ball.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. That's where everything is falling apart with their mentality. So
I agree with you 100%. And the solution has always been to let the most powerful living organism on the planet, our natural immune system. Our immune system is stronger than pretty much everything on this planet. And I know this because we're the dominant species on the planet. That doesn't happen unless we have a superpower. That superpower is our immune system and our brain. But our immune system is what helps our brain. And if we would have just trusted it to handle this, especially after that first month, and we kind of understood what we were dealing with, because at first we were getting all kinds of nonsense from China, like this thing was killing people in the street, and they were just falling over dead in the thousands, like these videos and all this propaganda. So everybody was like, "What the hell?"
Well,
and then once we realized, well, that's not what's happening. We should have been rational and sane like Sweden did. I can't believe I'm praising Sweden, because there's a lot of reasons not to praise Sweden, but in this one, they seem to have been the one to get it right. And they just kind of were like, no, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to let this thing play out and let
Yeah.
our collective immune system handle it. And that's what happened, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, it also kind of falls into this modern false narrative that
Yeah,
one, everybody should be happy unless we don't want you to be happy, and everyone must live. And
yeah,
of course, the better medicine gets, and the more healthy and the long, and the better lives we can live is a good thing. But people die. It's the
yeah.
reality of life.
It's a good thing, believe it or
Well,
not.
of course it is. But this idea that everyone must live, I mean, survival of the fittest has value
Yes.
because, it cleans the genetics, right? Now, and we're trying our best to remove ourselves from that cycle. And I don't know that it's a really good lane for
It's
us
not.
to take. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's not.
Well,
I think real quick. I think we're better off when we accept that we are not above nature. We are a part of it,
Yeah.
and the longer we try to resist that, the more we're going to suffer.
well, it's not only that. I think what another big problem was that there were no therapeutics out there,
Yep.
and when stuff looked like it had promise, people immediately ran in and tried to shut it all down, because well, it's not approved. Well, nothing's approved. You go with what you got. Let's take a look at what we have. And so now we're finding
Mhm.
out hydroxychloroquine may not have been as bad. And there's a bunch of other stuff coming out. I mean, I had remdesivir, and that thing literally, I walked into the emergency room with the 101 temperature.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Um, After an hour of one remdesivir treatment, I had no temperature. I mean, I had a normal temperature,
Good.
crushed it like a bug.
Good.
And of course, they gave me the full 5 doses. But the rest of it was fixing up my lungs after that, because it was, my lungs were trashed.
Yeah.
Can you
The
taste
thing,
anything?
I couldn't taste anything originally. I can now.
Oh, good. That's good.
And that was the other thing. The virus does something with the nerves, because during when I was in the hospital, I actually lost some sensation in my left
Penis?
pinky. Strangely enough, but viruses will travel along the
Oh yeah.
nerves. I think herpes and mono do that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was looking out for you, so I'm glad that
Yeah,
didn't happen.
given some of
I'm
the
at the
hospital
point.
food, not tasting stuff wouldn't have been a bad idea.
That's fair.
Oh god, that's for sure. I'm at the point now where so many people, especially in America, they don't want to see what's right in front of them, and that this has gone far beyond a pandemic. Whether it was intentional or not doesn't even matter anymore because they're using it like it was, and they are literally trying to seize dictatorial power.
They
I mean,
are.
they're literally doing that in
Mhm.
Australia, for crying out loud.
They are. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
we
so are they.
can't
The
permit
FBI.
that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the FBI. We cannot permit that to happen as Americans. As Americans specifically, we have a heritage that is not our own. We do not have the right to forfeit that because we're afraid. Simple as that. And I know it sucks that it fell to our generations to have to deal with it, but it needs to get dealt with because if we don't, it's never. I don't think it's going to. I think it's it. I think
Yeah.
liberty as a concept in the world will just simply die.
Yeah. No. No. I agree. And we go through these cycles. Hopefully, it'll all work itself out, and we'll see how it goes. We'll stay on top of it, of course. But I am in a tight schedule today, so I need to get to my last story because we could talk about this all day. So here we go.
Stitch work. Stitch it.
Oh wait,
It's not a big deal.
come on. Where is it? There it is. The
Oh,
thing's
don't
messed
even
up.
get me started. Don't get me started on this. Oh
Predator
my god.
5 Prey reveals first look. Wait, Predator 5? Wait. There's 5 Predator movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
More actually, if you add
Why?
AVP. But yeah. Now, I just want to get in. I'm going to let you guys have opinions on this, but there's a couple things about this that's kind of interesting. First, if you look at the sidebar here, Predator 5 Good as Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie claims producer. Well, you're an idiot. Predator 5 likely skipping theaters for Hulu release. They don't go. Those two don't go together. Disney Predator cast Amber Mindthunder as female lead. Now we looked at her when this first came out, and I thought this was interesting too. The Expendables 4 first look at 50 Cent. Yeah, that series is about action heroes of the 80s. You are not an action hero, sir. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this. So what we have here, this is set in the past. It's 300 years ago, and we have a Native American female warrior named Naru, and she's gonna tear up that predator because she's badass. Well, here's the thing, though. I hate to
How
be
does
the
that make sense?
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I shall. When they talk about
Uh,
patriarchies, you
yeah,
don't get more patriarchal than the Native American peoples.
no,
Now, did they have, just
Yeah.
like with the Scandinavians who had shield maidens, and people don't understand what that is? They assisted at the back lines in battles
that's
uh,
right.
with healing people and dealing with wounds and things like that. And the Native American ladies would do the same, but they were not frontline warriors. There is no example of one. And neither is there one in Scandinavia. Sorry to bust people's bubble on that, because men fight wars. That's just the reality. Why do we fight wars? To protect the women's and the babies. That's
Well,
the
we're
whole
better
damn
men.
point, right? But anyway, so it's kind of dumb. Although the idea of a Native American warrior lady, if she's a hottie, I'm not against it. Uh huh. And this one here is about to get on some pipe, so I'm good. That's a hottie right
I
there,
don't
dude.
even think she's native. I'm pretty sure
Damn.
she's just
You
Asian, but
shut
she's
your
hot.
mouth, sir.
She's
She's the
hot.
best native ever.
I mean, she's of the Mongoloid people, I would say for sure.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah.
I don't know if she's one of my people. I don't think she's one of them.
No. But of course they got her looking all like she's in war paint, which would never happen.
No,
They probably, and more, these people are so stupid. She's probably walking around in war paint normally, as if that
yeah.
was how they dressed. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh
no,
God.
no, no, no.
Now I'll say that right there is awesome. That is an
Yeah,
awesome
that's
piece of
that's an awesome image.
cinematography.
Yeah.
That's a great image. And I've said this before. When it comes to the imaging and the directors of photography and all the cinematic stuff, we are at an era right now that's one of the best ever.
Oh, they're
When it
kicking
comes
ass.
to
Yeah.
everything else, it's the worst, maybe the worst ever when it comes to Hollywood. When it comes to scripts and writing and directing and making a movie, not just making it a bunch of still images like this year, they're a mess. But when it comes to getting the lighting just right and getting the shot just right and setting a tone visually, I don't know we've ever had a better era except honestly, like I'm trying to think of one. I think that when it comes to the mechanics of cinematography, we are at a place now that's beyond anything we've ever seen. The problem is the functionaries of filmmaking, the functionaries of narrative have fallen off a damn cliff and nobody knows how to do it
Yep.
anymore.
Yeah.
No,
But
I came across a video that talked about that, and it mentioned that the movies have gotten bad. The movies have gotten really awful, but the marketing has actually done
Oh yeah,
way better. The marketing's better than the actual movie.
yeah.
So
I agree.
I'll have to go find that and put it up in put it
Like
somewhere.
that right there is a cool image. That could be a cool
Yeah.
Yeah,
story. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not
How is a native
interested.
woman going to beat a predator?
I'm not, yeah,
Like,
and even if she can, that's not even the point. I'm not interested in a mono movie with this little pretty little thing against a predator. I'm not
yeah,
interested at all. If you're going to do a slasher like film, a horror based film, and you have your final girl, I'm okay with that. But how has she survived? She survives through tenacity and luck a lot of times, right? But it's a very different formula to have the final girl compared to a Predator movie, which is about beating the Predator at its own game. right? It's not
Yep.
about you surviving the night and tying into those psychological things of the girl being terrified who's watching the movie because it's scary and the man being terrified because the woman's in danger. That's the whole formula for the slasher type movie and the final girl aspect. This is a very very different adrenaline charge. This is about visceral combat, right?
Yes.
And there are some women who can pull it off. We've seen some, but this little cutie, because she is a little cutie, no, she's a cutie for sure.
She's gonna
I
Well,
get
mean,
some
it's also
holes
just
blown in her.
silly. It's just silly. Like,
is
how
she
does a
is she
Native
fighting a
American,
female predator? Okay, good.
how do they beat a predator? Like,
Well, it's not only that. From what
uh
I've read, she's supposed to be, I think, either Comanche or Cheyenne.
Uh huh.
And the if you go back to the first two original Predator movies, it was always supposed to be a place that was really, really hot. Matter of fact, in the first one, it's always talking about they always come like this. It's a summer there or a
Yeah,
year
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
exceptionally hot.
True.
It doesn't get that hot up in those areas. I'm
No,
sorry.
it doesn't. Yeah.
And I mean, like the Sack Predator 2, you could see it was like an immensely hot season in Los Angeles. No, sorry, no.
and the worst part about these Predator movies, the first Predator movie is such a masterpiece, and it is because it flips the script so hard right there at the
It
climax.
does a great
It
job. Yeah.
it goes from
Yeah.
Arnold being the prey and his team being the prey to him being the predator.
Yes,
Right?
which
The
is the
way that
point.
they flipped it. And they flip it without there's almost no dialogue about it. But that last bit of that movie is real quiet, real methodical, real insistent, and it knows what it's doing. You're on a hunt. Hunts are quiet. When you're hunting an animal, you gotta be quiet because that animal can hear you. So it's real quiet, it's real determined, it knows what it's doing. Everything Arnold does in that last bit has a purpose, and it's very tactful. And these new ones, from what I haven't seen most of them. I didn't even know there were that many of them.
Oh, they're train
They
wrecks,
don't.
dude.
They don't get that. They don't get the subtlety that is at the end of that movie. Because people see Arnold, you're like, oh, he's Arnold. He's not subtle. In that movie, he is.
Yeah, he
In
is.
that movie, his
Mhm.
acting is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such a masterpiece. The first half of it is an 80s action movie. The last half of it is a subtle mind fuck of a movie.
How
That's
can
what it
you
is.
watch Conan the Barbarian and not think Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't subtle? I mean, honestly. But
Subtle as a box of hammers, yes.
yes. Well, the thing is, if it's good, I'll shut up and enjoy it. But one of the problems
It's
with
not going to be good.
no, it's not going to be
It's
good.
not going to be good.
But here's the problem with anything that is fiction based, right? And this is a standard rule in writing and filmmaking, etc. Uh, you can only expect one suspension of belief with your of disbelief with your viewer or your reader.
Yeah.
Only one. And and you have to be very careful when you're in your narration when you're doing that in your creation. Here you're compounding it. This suspension of disbelief is that aliens are real and they like to hunt people. Okay, there's your suspension of disbelief. So whatever you do with that alien creature is fair game because it falls within that one tag. By throwing a little skinny girl as your warrior, especially using a bow, an old classic bow, which a women could never pull back. I mean, it's
Yeah.
always weird how Hollywood always wants to throw the bow in the girl's hand because they think it's a girl's weapon. Yeah, I have a bow. It's an 80-pound pull. Most
Yeah.
men can't pull it,
And
right?
most of those bows were a lot more than 80 pounds.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that now most people don't know that. Fair enough. And the bow has been kind of is envisioned as being a weapon that anybody can use. Okay, fair. But she's so scrawny. She doesn't look badass. She looks like a Hollywood veg-fed girl. She doesn't look like a warrior, right? So you're asking multiple suspensions of disbelief here, and they keep doing that, and it keeps falling and failing in their face, and they don't get it, right?
Yep.
You could have done this right. You could have had a female warrior and done it right. But I don't have any faith in this whatsoever, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like Terminator 2, where Sarah Connor ended up being all frickin' buff and knew everything about weapons because she spent time
Yep,
learning all that stuff. That made sense.
it did.
Yeah.
But what was
Okay.
her main contribution, though? Even though she did all of that, education was her main
Exactly.
contribution, and it worked really, really well. Sigourney Weaver, she's terrified, but she's getting it done because she has to, and she uses her environment correctly. That's what I mean. You can do it right.
Mhm.
You just have to do it right. And what I've seen from, because we've talked about this a few times already, it's like just typical woke Hollywood crap, dude. It's like it's like well, in Shang-Chi, spoilers, where Aquafina saves the day with her archery, which she learned the day before. The day before was the first time she shot a bow, and she saves the day.
Oh
Literally the hero of the
god.
movie. This is the shit, man.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Sorry, no.
No, it's
It
stupid.
takes more than a day.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. It takes a goddamn lifetime. I've been using bow hunt. I've been going bow hunting since I was a teenage boy, and I'm still not a master of it.
Yeah.
Right?
And lots of bow hunters up here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Trust
Oh, yeah.
me, it don't happen in a day.
No, and
That
it's
is
the
a
best way to.
skill. That's a well honed skill.
It is, and it's the best way to go hunting, because mainly today we hunt at the grocery store, right? You don't
Yeah.
some
Mhm.
people do, but most of us don't really need to hunt for our livelihood. Although I've always eaten what I killed, but so therefore the bow is the best experience of it in the modern day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's off topic here. But I don't know if it's good. Awesome. I'd love to have a great Predator movie. I really would. I'd love to have it.
Yeah.
But
It'll suck.
you know. Uh,
Last one sucked.
Oh god, dude, it
Bad.
was so bad. It was
It was
so
horrible.
so bad. It didn't make any sense. It was just Hollywood trope after Hollywood trope. It was so dumb. And who was that boobalicious girl that was in there that didn't make any sense? What's her name?
Yeah.
They had her as Psylocke in X-Men as well. But
Yeah.
whatever her name is, I didn't buy for even half a second that she was a scientist. Did you?
Nope. No.
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 It's like that Bond girl, that model girl who was what's her name? The one that played she was a Bond girl, but she was like this genius scientist. What was her name? She was a hottie though.
Denise Richards.
Oh my god, dude, she's a hottie. I
Yeah.
didn't buy
Yeah, I
that
knew
for
who you
half a
meant.
second, dude. Half a
Hottest Bond girl
second.
ever. Oh, young Denise Richards was an absolute masterpiece of a female. Whew.
Oh yes, she was, dude.
Whew.
But anyway, that's what I got. I definitely got to be tight with my time today, guys. Olivia Munn, thank you very much, Amron. Of course, Amron knows. Of course. Of course. But she's a hottie though. She's a hottie without question. But yeah, I don't know. I'll wait and see what it comes out. Who knows? But it just the premise is dumb. Because I don't know what do you think? I know things because
Oh,
I study. But of the general public, how many people do you think know that there were never any female Native American warriors? What do you think would be the general consensus on that?
Only
well,
about 25%.
considering most of the public still thinks that there was a mass genocide by the United States government of Native Americans, probably not very high. Never happened. By the way, Native American here. That didn't happen. That's a lie of
There
history.
are no more
It
Native
didn't happen.
Americans around there anymore because they were all wiped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there aren't tens of millions of Native Americans in America. There certainly aren't. That's true.
No,
But
that's it.
whatever.
And
But
there are no casinos in Michigan.
no, there definitely aren't. Yeah. But all I can say is, if hopefully it'll be watchable. I guess.
Well, it'll be watchable. It's just how much do you value your vision is the question.
Fair,
How much
but
do you value vision?
at least she's a cutie though, because we haven't been
Yeah,
allowed
but they're
that.
gonna go out of their way to make her not. You know that. Come on.
Well, yeah, they'll put her in the face paint the whole time, which doesn't make any sense anyway. Dude,
Yes.
how now? Once again, consensus question: how many Americans think Indians ran around with paint on their face all day long?
Probably way too many. It's
Yeah,
probably the same
probably.
amount of people who think that, Middle Ages Europeans were just walking around in filth. They were just constantly dirty and
Right,
had
it's
mud
Yeah.
on
weird.
their face and
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean the cities were pretty bad to be fair, but outside the cities it wasn't like that at all. But yeah,
No.
no, whatever, whatever. But yeah, I can hope that here's my hope, Jeff, that I get a side boob. That's really my
Oh, I'm pretty
anticipation.
sure that's going to be in there. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I
almost
don't mean a
guarantee of
predator
that.
side boot. I mean a little Indian girl side boot.
Nope, you're getting that great big veiny alien side boob. That's what you're getting.
God, you suck, man.
Scales.
I'm going to okay,
Oh.
just for that. I shut off my share, but just for that, I'm going back to the pipe girl. Mm, very nice girl. You go Indian girl. Yeah, she looks like she's half Chinese or something. But whatever. I don't care. Anyway, guys, I definitely got to run, so we got to wrap this up. Thanks for coming in, Jeff. I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
Um,
No problem.
and
Anytime.
well, and Thundera, make sure that he can get in when he wants, if you don't mind.
He
Um,
should be
so
able to now.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
well,
I think there's
I'm
like
in now.
a slight delay on it for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. No big deal.
That's all right. But anyway, guys, I'm going to let these guys close out. Keep in mind, tomorrow we're doing the epilogue for our role playing game if you're interested in that. It's just a wrap up, but it'll be fun, and we'll be moving on to something else in the future here very shortly. But that, of course, Bugbear's basement is really the nerd den. So I know it's not for everybody. But other than that, I'm not sure what we're doing the draw along this week. I know they were chatting about various different things, but last week was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and check it out. We had the guy who runs Bleeding Fool, Chris, was in, and
Mm.
of course he's the editor in chief and producer for Mike Barron and past couple of books, and of course his current Thin Blue Line. Great conversation. That was a really good show. Come check it out, and this week we'll be doing something different. So thank you all very much. And Jeff, do you have any closing comments for the peoples?
Mm, nah,
That's very helpful, Jeff. Thank you.
man. I'm a man. I'm a man of few words.
I thought you would have said a man, at least in taste.
Whatever.
That would
I'm married. I'm married with kids. I have no manliness no left.
I see. That was a Mick
Just
Jagger quote.
sucked right out of me.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's why. That's what. See, I was smart. I only had 2 kids. You had 22. That's the problem. All right. Thank
Anyways,
you very much, Jeff. Thundero takes out of here, man.
Done this one before, but I like it. I think it's my favorite one. This is wisdom. Do not misplace your worry. For when you are poor or weak, worry after your strength and wealth. When you are rich or strong, worry after the weak and poor. Place your worry correctly, for misplaced worry has killed millions.
That is
Have a
true.
good night, everybody.
Namaste. Later.
later.